Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of First Look, Final Word, podcast where we take you along to see a new movie. I'm Pete.
And I'm Trevor. What's going on, you popes? And if you could probably tell, or maybe you can't, we are not in a car today. So we're seeing this in the comfort of Pete's basement.
Yeah, so not our typical drive into the theater this week. We'll just be sitting in my basement. It's basically the same thing.
Well, I guess, we kind of missed this one in theater, had a bit of a limited run.
Right, yeah.
And did we say what we're seeing?
I don't think so.
We are seeing Conclave.
Yeah, you'll have seen the title of the episode. They know what they're in for.
So after the unexpected death of the Pope, Cardinal Lawrence is tasked with managing the covert and ancient ritual of electing a new one. Sequestered in the Vatican with the Catholic Church's most powerful leaders until the process is complete, Lawrence finds himself at the center of a conspiracy that could lead to its downfall. Well, sounds pretty good.
Sounds pretty good. It's interesting. When I first heard it, I was like, that like synopsis of a movie could be like, has the potential to be really good, but also like just really boring.
Well, those the really political movies do have to strike just the right balance.
Yeah. But I'm thinking this one is going to be a good one, though. I'm actually excited to see this one.
Yeah, so this is by Edvard Berger, who is the guy who did All Quiet on the Western Front, the remake that came out a couple years ago.
Okay.
Did you see that one on Netflix?
I actually didn't watch that one, no.
Well, I didn't like it all that much. It was certainly well directed, I would say, but we talked a little bit on our episode on Blitz that I don't really like war movies too much, and this one was really, really over the top, just letting you sit in the misery of it.
Yeah, it did. It was well reviewed, though, wasn't it? I thought people seemed to like it.
It got surprise nominations for 10 Oscars or whatever, and including Best Picture, Best Director, and stuff.
That's how I thought. That's why I thought it was well received.
It was very well received. I didn't really enjoy it that much myself. I admit it was a good movie. I just did not have a good time watching it.
That's fair. I think sometimes with that stuff as well, you need to really be in the right mindset for that kind of thing, which is probably why I don't usually watch a lot of those movies, because I'm just I don't want to watch a movie and just be depressed.
Well, I was already kind of going into it with a bad attitude, because it's a remake of it's an adaptation of a famous book that's been done multiple times,
right.
And multiple very good movies, I would say.
Yeah.
So I was a little against it from the start. Maybe not a good idea.
You're going in like the classic Craig, it's been done before. Waste of time.
But so we selected this movie. This one has a lot of Oscar heat behind it.
Getting a lot of good buzz around it, right?
So reviews are pretty good so far. And for our topic for this week, we had the star Ralph Fiennes in mind.
Right.
For this, so our topic was actors who are overdue to win an Oscar.
Right.
And he kind of fits that definition.
Well, definitely. Yeah.
And yeah, this movie, especially, people are the conversation has been started of is this the movie that's finally going to get it done for him? And he's one of the front runners at this point.
I've not really heard that, but yeah, I'm excited to see his performance in this now. To be honest, I've done very little research on this movie, to be fair. So I'm kind of going in a bit blind on it. So I did pretty much no research on Oscar people who are due Oscars as well. So I'm probably a bit behind on this. But throw a couple at me, Trevor.
Well, we're gonna rattle I had said, do we want to just make it living people? And then you pushed back a little bit on that. Did you have someone in mind that?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily, but
I thought you were going to say you're going to be repping Peter O'Toole or something.
Oh, that's why I hadn't mentioned that. I hadn't thought that actually. No, but that's a good one. But I was going way even further back, like Charlie Chaplin.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I guess he never won one, right?
No, not for anything. I don't think not for directing, producing, or nothing.
I had no idea. Well, that's a good one.
I guess you don't get one for producing, but no, I don't think any of his movies won anything, which is crazy.
Well, so I have the advantage this week of being able to just look at my
there we go. Yeah,
look at my list when I'm usually driving.
Off to drive.
So like to get like the big one like out of the way, I was gonna say Glenn Close,
yeah,
which is kind
that
of
was the only one that I was gonna say as well. To be honest,
at the top of
because like anytime you look for a list, that's number one.
Yeah,
which is pretty crazy to be honest.
Well, I think it's like 8 times now that she's been nominated, which is I think is tied with Peter O'Toole for the most times, or maybe she's even ahead of him now.
Because like I'm sure we're including like honorary Oscars and stuff as well, right? Like, that they give people where it's like here's your lifetime achievement Oscar.
Yeah, well, I say a competitive Oscar has to be like it doesn't really count because
like who did they give one to recently? I can't remember. What? Like, don't they just have one that's like, oh, here's your lifetime Oscar award?
Well, because they're like, well, it's weird that this person doesn't have an Oscar, so here's an Oscar that doesn't really count.
Yeah, they sometimes they just give it to someone because they've been nominated for something random, and they're like, oh, well, you should have given it you a long time ago, so you can have it for this, even though you don't. It doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, well, and like. I'm trying to think. Maybe it was Henry Fonda who they gave an honorary Oscar to, and then the year after that, he won an actual Oscar,
really?
Like a surprise Oscar when he was like in his late 70s.
Whoops! Oh well.
So like, just be a little more patient. But I can run through my list pretty quick here. Like I do have Ralph Fiennes on here.
Right.
Well, and I have like movies that I think they should have won in a year. I'm not trying to say like, they were robbed of an Oscar because it really is a subjective thing. Like just saying that someone's overdue is like, you have a good body of work.
Sometimes people are robbed though, let's be fair.
Do you have
I don't have an example in mind, no, but it was, well, wasn't that, didn't I see one today, like the Glenn Close one?
Well, Glenn, when
it's like Cher won it instead.
Well, so it's interesting though, because the year that Glenn Close should have won for Fatal Attraction, Cher won for Moonstruck, which I think is actually an incredible performance.
Right. Yeah, that's fair, actually.
And that same year, Holly Hunter was also nominated for Broadcast News, which is also an incredible award. Like any of those could have won in a standard year.
It is tough it is crarazy when you have those years where it's just like any other year and like they sort of been nailed on. And
exactly.
There's like 2 or 3 like really great performances.
Well, going back to Peter O'Toole, like Lawrence of Arabia, which is like his first big role, and I think still probably his best performance, was in the same year as Gregory Peck in To Kill a Mockingbird, which is like, it's just really tough friggin' luck.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so Ralph Fiennes, I have like, Schindler's List and Grand Budapest Hotel, both performances that I think are like really, really high caliber. I have Amy Adams on here. I think she's very overdue.
How many times has she been nominated?
6.
Wow, really? That's crazy.
And so for her best performance that I think she was robbed that she didn't win, I think was Arrival.
Right.
And she didn't even get nominated. Like I was completely like flabbergasted because when I saw that, I thought it was like one of the best performances I'd ever seen, and somehow she didn't get nominated for it.
Sci-fi stuff in it. They don't nominate.
It's got to be because it's a sci-fi thing, but like it's crazy to me.
It's a snobby Academy.
Then I have Tom Cruise.
Right. Yeah. That's a good one.
For his performances, I have Magnolia and Eyes Wide Shut, both in 1999. But I think both are very Oscar caliber performances.
Yeah.
Would those be at the top for you?
Yeah, I think I'll try to think of any other Tom Cruise movies but like
some people thought he was going to get a nom for Maverick.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
That would have been really cool.
That would have been the one where it was like, oh, we probably should have given you.
Well, and that would be like awarding it like, because like being a movie star is different than being a good actor, right?
I was like, trying to think of a movie that it's like it's different. Like he's such a big movie star, it's hard to separate like the performance from just the spectacle of it all, right? Sometimes,
I guess that'd be like the Russell Crowe and Gladiator thing if he had won in that.
Yeah,
but he didn't. Then I have Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, I have Willem Dafoe is a
The
good
Florida
one.
Project and the Lighthouse. He's been doing some great work,
amazing work
lately, and he's in Nosferatu coming up. So I'm excited for that performance. I have Angela Bassett, Malcolm X, and the 2 Black Panther movies. I think
she was robbed for that last one for sure.
I think so.
I thought she was a shoo-in for that.
Yeah. Well, and again, like I don't have like who won against all these people. No, I'm not trying to throw shade on anybody else.
Yeah, who won? Who won? It was because it was last year, wasn't it? The year before for Black Panther 2.
So who won for Best Supporting Actress last year?
I can't remember who it was. I mean, it wasn't like
somewhat rubbish. Obviously,
it wasn't like a crazy like I can't believe they won, but. Yeah, if I thought.
All right, well, I'll look this up, but let's try not to do this too much.
Just Google it. Let's Google some stuff. Yeah, we're gonna get into just like bringing up all the results from the last 10 years of the.
Yeah,
Oscars.
maybe we wanted to do this one nice and quick.
We did that one episode, didn't we? It's like, well, let's go to the next year.
Oh, I'm in the wrong one. I'm in 2 years ago.
So what else? What else was she nominated for?
Angela Bassett?
Yeah.
I don't know what her nominations are.
No, me neither.
I just picked Malcolm X because I thought, she was incredible in that one.
Right. Well.
Okay.
Here we go. We got it. Bam for quick.
Supporting actress. Oh, no. You know what? It should have been the year before that. Was she even nominated?
Yeah, she definitely was.
So I'm in the wrong. So Divine Joy Randolph won for The Holdovers, which was a very deserving win in my opinion. So let me see. So the year before that, it would have been Jamie Lee Curtis then for Everything Everywhere All at Once, right?
I don't know.
Was Black Panther 2 that long ago?
It might have been. It feels like it was long ago.
Yeah. So Jamie Lee Curtis won over her for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. That is kind of
that's a rob.
That's kind of a rob. That's that's a she's due.
Yeah, and that was a riding the wave of everyone loving that movie, which was fair enough. But yeah,
well, I don't think even Jamie Lee Curtis in her wildest imagination would think I'm doing a performance that's going to give me an Oscar. Okay, that one I'm calling out Jamie Lee there.
I did remember. I did remember it being a bit of a robbery because I thought I was sure she would get it for that.
Well, even like, I feel bad for saying this. I would put everyone else in this category over Jamie Lee Curtis winning there. And it's not a bad, like, it's just a very comical performance. Like there's nothing about that makes me think like this is a great acting showcase.
No,
not trying to say like a funny performance can't be
true.
Can't be a winning.
She definitely made a choice, but yeah, to your point, it was pretty like broad.
Carrie Condon in Banshees of Inisherin, I think it's much better. Even Stephanie Hsu in Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think is better.
True, actually. Yeah.
Hong Shao, I don't like The Whale, but I think she's the best part of it.
I've still not seen that.
Yeah, I don't want to comment on The Whale. I don't think it's very good. All right, so speeding through this, I have Johnny Depp. His two performances.
He's never won.
Never won.
Wow.
So his two performances I have are for Ed Wood and the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, which I think is like just an incredible performance. He did get nominated for that.
Oh, he did.
So I have Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, I was going to say Ethan Hawke
for First Reformed. I think he got robbed for not getting that one. And for Boyhood, I don't even think he got nominated for Boyhood. I think he's
Boyhood. That's a good shout.
I've Michael Stuhlbarg, not quite an A-lister, but I've for A Serious Man and Bones and All.
Okay.
Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
Inside Llewellyn Davis, I think, should have been a shoo-in for winning Best Actor. I don't know who won, not trying to call anybody out, but...
yeah, let's not Google it.
I also have The Card Counter on there.
Okay.
Then Ex Machina is also really good.
That is a great movie.
I have Naomi Watts for Mulholland Drive and Eastern Provinces. I think those are both movies that deserve of an Oscar.
Yeah, definitely.
And then closing out my list, I have Idris Elba.
Okay.
So nice. 3,000 Years of Longing, which is the
demo is like
he's like a genie.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
He is incredible in that movie. He's so good. Again, and didn't get. I don't think that movie got a single nomination.
I feel like most of the stuff he's been in lately has been pretty like under the radar stuff.
Yeah,
like he's not really
doing more TV really and stuff too, right?
These days.
And then I have Beast of No Nation, which I think is his one Oscar nom on there. But anyways, that's my quick run through there.
It's a good list. It's a good list. I don't really have much to add to that, but it's an interesting thing to think about because it like how do you think these guys feel about it? Like, do you think they are like pissed, or do you think they just get to a point where like whatever, I don't care?
I think it's a combination, like depending on who it is. I know that like the word about Jim Carrey is like every day he's haunted that he doesn't have an Oscar.
Or like Man in the Moon or something.
And he's never even been like he's won 2 Golden Globes, never been nominated for. I think like the Truman Show, like he probably should have been nominated for that. I think that's a great performance.
Well, I mean, I think of a lot of that's reputation though as well, and like they don't give it to comedians.
Yeah,
well, they do like comedians being serious though sometimes.
But they didn't give it to Sandler for Uncut Gems. I think Sandler's just one step too far for some people. Like I'm sure some people didn't even watch the movie because he certainly deserved to be nominated. But
you can't give Adam Sandler an Oscar no matter what he does.
But the thing is, like, the whole thing is so subjective, right? Like, for every, like, because they have 5 nominations for each category, and there's probably like, 10, maybe more in each category that kind of are deserving of that sort of level. And then how do you pick the best one out of all of them, right?
Yeah, we've talked before.
There are no doubters, right?
I think the Oscars is mostly bullshit anyway.
I care too much about it.
But to your point, it's so subjective, but it's like the people who make the decisions, at least on the nominations, are like so not diverse. It's just the same old group of all white dudes. And it's like that's why like people just make Oscar bait movies because like this is what they like. This is what the Academy likes. It's like that's not what a good movie is. It's just what they think it is.
The fact that like Eddie Redmayne has an Oscar and like he almost won 2 in a row like really bothers me because he went like, and not that he's like I don't think he's a bad actor, but like he went like with the most Oscar baity roles imaginable like 2 times in a row, and he won once. He almost won twice.
That's what I mean. Like that's all you need to do. It's like it doesn't necessarily make you the best performance of that year, even, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I just kind of think it's a bit. That's what I mean. Like, I don't know. I think but like to your point, I think some people would be really upset about it, and some people are probably just like, who gives a fuck about it, really?
I think it's part of the game now. Is you have to seem like you don't care enough, right, but like you care a little bit, but not enough.
Like it'd be nice to actually have a statue,
because that's kind of like in the race for Best Actor last year, basically came down to Cillian Murphy and Paul Giamatti,
right? And
they were kind of like trying to outcompete each other for like who was more aloof about it. And then you have a guy like Bradley Cooper who like just really, really, really wants to win an Oscar.
He cannot tear rolling down his cheek.
And like, but I think they all like want to win with every fiber of their being. Some of them just like are able to contain themselves a little bit better.
I wonder if the more times you get nominated and don't win, I wonder if like it gets worse, or there's a point where you just like I don't even care anymore. Like I've been nominated 5 times, I don't even care anymore. Or is it like 5 times? I can't believe it. It's like insult to injury.
Well, I'll have to look this up, but I think Randy Newman was like nominated like 18 times before he finally won something.
Who else got one recently? Was it a DP? I think they've been nominated the most times without winning.
It wasn't Deakins, was it? I was
going to say, I thought it might have been Deakins.
So he won for Blade Runner 2049, right?
I can't remember what he eventually won.
Or is it Hoyt van Hoytema who won for Oppenheimer?
I can't remember, but I remember seeing an article. It was like they've been nominated more times than anybody else.
Yeah, well, it's crazy.
You just be like, whatever.
It must be so frustrating.
I don't even care anymore. Just tell me if I've won.
Well, even like as a composer, like being nominated, but then you're just like, oh, okay, fucking John Williams won again. Like, are you kidding me?
He's just gonna add it to his collection. Yeah, that's what I mean. I feel like at some point you're just like, whatever, I don't care. Just I'm nominated, I'm not going to win anyway.
I think the more you get nominated without winning, it like haunts you. Because like Bradley Cooper has like 12 nominations.
You'd be like, this is got to be the year, right? And it's like, not again. You'd be like, God.
Yeah. Well, because then like you, especially when like just talking about actors, like you get a bit of like a stink on you. Right? And
true, I suppose.
And then,
I mean, not getting a nomination or not, you'd have to be happy with that, surely, because some people barely get nominated.
You're happy with the first one. After the second one, it's like it's a noose.
I mean, is it though? Because if you're like,
I don't know.
If you're just like constantly getting nominated for being the best actor of that year, that's got to mean something. Surely, like, I'm in the top of the cream of the crop every year. Yeah, I might not have ever won, but what all the other thousands of actors that don't even get nominated ever.
I can't remember what role this was for, but it was recently. Denzel Washington was nominated. He's already won twice for both Best Supporting and Best Actor, and he didn't win for this one. And he was like, he had tears in his eyes. Like wow. it still hurt him that he didn't win, which is kind of like crazy to me that it can still like affect you that much.
Yeah, it must be a lot about like how you connect with the role and stuff though. Like if you put everything into a role and you're like, this is the best work I've ever done, and then you don't win for it, like that could be a bit upsetting.
Well, you gotta think as like an actor, you're probably a pretty sensitive person,
I guess so.
Right?
I guess so.
But that's where it gets into so subjective, like,
as well, right? Probably.
Yeah. Well, you have to. I guess you have to go in thinking that you're the best and you're going to win. Right? But anyway, should we get to Conclave and see if Ralph Fiennes deserves to win?
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't really talk much about Pope movies or Catholic movies because it's not really a genre that usually has exciting stuff. Although I feel like
Spotlight.
I feel like there's been a few Pope movies lately, though.
Well, the two popes,
the Pope's Exorcist.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Wasn't it two different?
There's two
Pope
different
movies with
with exorcisms, right?
Yeah, but I've not seen any of them, so I don't know. I won't be able to rank this one in the papal rankings.
The papal rankings.
But I'm guessing this one's going to be slightly different from the Pope's Exorcist.
Well, you never know. Maybe that's a twist towards the end.
Yeah, Ralph Fiennes was a ghost all along. No spoilers. All right, yeah. So that's probably enough. Now we'll stick it on here, and then we'll get back to you guys with some reviews here.
All right. Wish us luck with Conclave.
Yeah. Be right back, guys. Welcome back, everyone. We didn't have to move at all.
I haven't gotten up.
We haven't gotten up since, I don't know, how long ago was that?
It's about 2 hours on the dot, that movie.
Oh, really? I wasn't timing it, so I'm glad you were. Yeah, I mean, it went through a pretty good click, though. Didn't feel overly long. Anyway, it's getting late here, so let's get right into it. What are your thoughts on Conclave, Trevor?
Well, I quite liked it. I think this will have like pretty broad appeal. Like it's definitely like a movie for grown-ups.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it for sure.
Yeah, and it's a movie about political intrigue, and so if you're into that kind of thing, you'll definitely like it. I think its detractors will probably say it's slow, and like it's hard to argue that it's not slow in certain areas. It'll all kind of just depend if that holds your interest or not. But I say like fairly good. I could definitely see this being the sort of thing that the Oscars eats up. But,
right. Yeah.
Like I quite liked it. Would not really be in my list of like the best movies of the year or anything like that. But what do you think, Pete?
Yeah, I think I'd agree. I quite liked it. I was really on board from the offset of it. From the get-go, I thought it was really well done. I thought it like the sound design and just the pacing, the editing of it, especially the first third of the movie, I thought was really well done and really got me into it. Not sure how I feel about how it went in the end. I don't know if it was just me or if it was just the time of night, but it just felt like it kind of ran out of steam a bit. Like the thing that I really enjoyed about the first part of it was just like the tension and I guess it's like the not knowing and the mystery and what's going to happen. I was really enjoying that more than I guess more of the reveals towards the end and how it eventually ended. I felt it was getting a little bit not preachy, which I guess is a good word for a Catholic movie, but I think it was definitely was ramming things home a bit more than I was kind of. Maybe I was looking for a bit more subtlety there, but it was very much like there was a lot of parallels with things that are going on in the world, which was good in a way. But at a certain point, I was like, oh, it's a bit like, okay, now it's just more and more sort of forcing it down your throat a little bit. But as I say, I did really like it. Like, I agree with you. It's definitely a thinking man's movie, thinking person's movie. Very deliberately paced, but incredibly acted. He did an awesome job. I'm not surprised that they're talking about nominating him. I thought he was amazing.
Well, when's he bad? He's
true, very true.
He's always great. He had some incredible standout moments in this one. Like for as many like scenes that are very quiet and whispered, there's a lot of quiet whispering. There's also some big emotions from a lot of them. Like especially Ray Fiennes, and I was going to call it specifically a scene where he's crying. Like it was some of the best crying I think I've seen in a movie in a long time.
Actually, both times, right at the beginning, he cries, and I thought like that was so powerful because it was so understated and it was just all in his eyes and his face.
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing. And later on, a different kind of crying scene. But yeah, to your point, it's probably some of the best cry, like some of the most well done crying. Well,
yeah, and that crying in the first scene, I'd honestly like forgotten about it, but it's actually really important for the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
A theme that recurs throughout the movie is like, you know, who is believing these things for real, who is feeling things for real, who is like actually authentic, and who is like playing politics. So
I guess like I'm trying to think of what else to talk about that's not spoilery, because I think that's what I do want to talk about is specifically the ending and some of the revelations towards the end. But yeah, other than that,
well, you were talking about like its appeal as a mystery, and I would say like I definitely thought that and yeah, I'm careful to spoil some things, but you know, the mysteries are very important, but then I'd say the politics become much more important than the mysteries.
Yeah, like like at the beginning, or there was parts where I was like, he's like Columbo. he's like Poirot in it. There's a bit where he even does that. Just one more thing. When he says he's leaving. No, he doesn't say it, but he does that whole thing where he's about to leave. He's about to leave. He's like, oh yeah, but before I leave, like, my wife wanted to ask you this thing. And I was like, oh man, he's like properly like a detective in this now. But yeah, well, to your point, I think it gets more into the political intrigue of it versus like him trying to solve a mystery. It doesn't really go that route.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would definitely like to call out Berger's direction, because it's not easy to film conversations and make it be this captivating. It honestly, like, it looks like it's easy, but it's not. No. Like it's.
Well, making it look easy, that's a sign of someone who's really skilled in the craft, right?
So like I'm very, very impressed by the direction of this movie. Like I said, I kind of appreciated All Quiet on the Western Front, even if I didn't like the movie. But like I like his direction is like the best part of it, I would say. And this one, like it's just like great acting performances all around, but like you also have to give credit to the director who's able to like
some of the shots in it were amazingly well done, and some of the visuals I thought were incredible. Like you say, there's a lot of boring, stuffy people doing like really boring, stuffy things, and it does not feel that way when you're watching it. Also, as well, I think I mentioned it before, but I thought the sound design in it was pretty incredible. Like I remember, like the first like half an hour to an hour, I remember thinking like, without the sound design and the music in this could be incredibly boring, because it was just like people standing around not really saying much, just sort of looking at each other like strangely and like walking in big halls, but like the music just grips you and just sucks you into it so much.
That's a good call. Like, and I didn't like the music from All Quiet on the Western Front, but and I'm just gonna guess that it's the same composer for this one.
Just did such a great job of like, it made you feel so tense when there was really nothing that should make you feel tense, but you like you just like the little musical cues are just like
it was great, and kind of like like the music is just sort of conveying the tension that like the people aren't letting themselves show, right? Exactly, like it's showing everything that's kind of underneath the surface.
Yeah. Like if there was different sound design choices, you could read it totally differently. So like it just did a really great job of setting you up like, oh, I need to be on Like I need to be like, and even like his performance as well. It was like so like understated, but it's like all under the surface. It was so well done.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man, he's so stressed and nervous about something, and then the sound design is telling me that I should be nervous too, but I don't know what that is yet. No, it really had me for the first like, well, most of the movie, to be fair, really had me. But yeah, I think.
It gripped two very tired men.
Right, that's a good point, right? And maybe that's why the sort of the last third of it didn't grip me as much. Maybe I was just too exhausted by being stressed about it and being gripped by it for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, well, it isn't like, and I said I didn't want to spoil it, but like it does seem like it's building to something, but then something else kind of takes hold.
And I'm not entirely sure what I was hoping for or expecting. Maybe I didn't even really know what that is. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, that's where it's going now. I'm not sure if that's what I was wanting.
I think we should go into spoilers before.
Yeah, I think we have to. Right?
I would recommend people who haven't seen it, like, definitely turn it off now. Like, you want to go in fresh. You don't want to have anything spoiled. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to set your expectations going in. Like, just
no, it's very true.
Sit down for a nice quiet night at home. It's going to be an enjoyable watch, I think.
It's definitely worth seeing for sure.
Okay, so want to go into spoilers then?
Sure. I guess something that's not really a spoiler, but we kind of talked about it before we turned the recorder back on or while the movie was on, is like the accents. And people like not doing accents, it always throws me off with stuff like this because it starts and it's like, okay, well, he's doing English and they're doing American. Yeah. And like, what are they supposed to be? Because they're all supposed to be a mix, but they don't think they're doing the accents that they're supposed to be.
So I think Ralph Fiennes' character's name is Thomas Lawrence, which I think
so like supposed to be English.
He has to be English. Okay. I would have to think, like, right?
Maybe
like
you're right then. I guess
he has to be English. Has there ever been an English pope? I highly doubt it.
I don't think so. No.
Right, like they're almost like before the 20th century, they were almost like all Italian.
Right. Yeah.
And then we've had like one Polish pope and John Paul II, then a German pope, and then now an Argentinian pope.
Well, you know a lot about popes, man.
And I'm not even the Catholic one.
I was raised Catholic, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you the pope.
Well, that's one thing I was going to ask you. Like, do you feel like this resonated as a Catholic, or does it not really matter?
I'm not really called myself a Catholic for a long, long time, but I did a good job of showing, and this is just my personal opinion, just like the ridiculousness and the pomp of all the all the things that they do, and it's just like, oh, come on, it's just it all seems like a load of nonsense. Really, it's all just like pantomime.
That's interesting because I would say, like, you know, it could have gone further, and like,
oh, it definitely could,
because like the entire thing, like it does seem quite strange. Is like, you know, they are a church, but then like you're surrounded by all this wealth and all this like, you know, call yourself like, you know, you're the Holy Father and like you're running a kingdom. It just seems a little strange to me, but the movie definitely could have hit harder on that.
I can guarantee you though that it's nothing like that in reality. Like it's like the way they interact and stuff. I can't imagine it being that way. And like I'm sure it's way more like it's all. I can't remember. I'm trying to think of the words to say. It's all like tradition, and you have to do things a certain way, and you can't do that, and you can't do this. Like it touched on that a little bit, but I'm gonna. Well, my guess is that it's way worse.
The movie's definitely from the perspective of the liberals who are looking to kind of moderate. And change the church, you know, gradually, as opposed to like the hardliners who kind of want that tradition. But I'm sure, like, you know, plenty of that tradition exists. You know, like the second the Pope died, they took his ring off and then took the top off the ring. I know, like, I've seen like some headlines about like people complaining about inaccuracies or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I'm sure there's a lot of liberties taken with it.
There's a lot of peculiarities in this movie that I have to think like have a basis in reality.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I think a lot of it. Like, yes, this is what they do, but they're doing it. They're taking a lot of
probably
liberties.
More cinematic version.
Exactly,
of it, right?
and like, they'll normally spend an hour doing this. We're not going to show you them doing this for an hour. Like, or like his homily would not have been that quick. I can tell you that for sure. I've never seen a homily that goes less than that. Less than like 20 minutes.
Is that like a sermon?
That's like the bit in the mass where the priest sermonizes, basically.
Yeah,
So.
and he said like, I want a priest who's like a little freaky.
Basically. And that bit was supposed to be like shocking. They're all like shocked.
I thought it was a
by him
good
saying
sermon.
that.
Like he's a good writer.
I love the line where it's like people weren't expecting it was like to be interesting.
Yeah, that was a great line.
That was a good one. Yeah. No.
So kind of what we were talking about before is, when I was starting watching the movie, I thought it was building up to it's going to be this big mystery. There's going to be this big rot that he uncovers at the center of it. Right. And I thought that's where the whole movie was going to be building. It's going to be building towards this revelation. But then really it just kind of, it builds towards like a medium revelation and a medium revelation.
Yeah. And the revelations were a bit like, well, yeah, obviously they're all going to be trying to buy votes and corrupt each other.
Honestly, just so relieved that the revelations were like, oh, someone had a consensual relationship 30 years ago.
Yeah, they could have
had an illegitimate child. And someone was like, it's called simery. Is what it's
did you Google that?
Yeah, it's called simony. It's where
simony.
It's named after some guy named Simon who like apparently was like you're like doing like religious bribes basically.
Okay.
Which seems so stupid. Like you're a cardinal and like someone gives you 50 grand or whatever. Like,
well, that's
who the hell cares?
Well, yeah, and that's what I was kind of thinking. I think they kind of that obviously they had to sort of Hollywood up that a bit. Like I can't imagine it's that like politically corrupt like with the cardinals. Because to your point, like what are they benefiting from it? It's like, ooh,
it would have to be something else. Like it would have to be like
I guess
child
positions.
Sex scandal.
Like, stuff like that, right? Yeah, for sure. Like the one with the illegitimate child from 30 years ago.
Yeah, that's kind of like almost wholesome.
I know. Like, really, that's
scandals.
It. That's what I mean. It's funny as like that. Even them just like talking, even the fact that you had a reaction to that woman, like that's all people need to know. They don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. So I would like to say I called.
Yes, you did.
Well, I guess not the twist, but I called who's going to be Pope from the second that we met that character.
Yeah, and like in my mind, it was like it's only going to be like Ray Fiennes or him, and as soon as you said it, I was like, yeah, it seems pretty obvious. But it was like, well, that'll be too obvious though, because it seems like that's obviously where it's going. And then when it happened, I was like, oh, that's a bit obvious. But then they did put the twist in. So I was like, oh, okay, there is a twist. But then I was like, I don't know if I like that twist so much. It seems a bit on the nose.
Well, I'm not like an expert on the history of the Catholic Church, but right. I've heard that there's like a basis. There's a rumor that a pope was a woman. Like
really?
I have no idea. I've not Googled this. I just know like that's just like a story I've seen is that there's like a like fairly well-founded rumor that a pope may have been a woman.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be too difficult to sneak that one in. It's not
so
like
I'm guessing that this is what the basis for this revelation.
Well, I mean
in history,
but it wasn't that he was a woman, right? It's like intersex or whatever. That's what I mean. I feel like that's very of a time because there's so many conversations around that kind of stuff. These well, what is a woman? And like we've got these chromosomes, and like you can't really pigeonhole it to one. I feel like that's a very hot topic right now.
Yeah,
it's a very socially sensitive issue at the moment. So, which I'm not saying you should do that in your movies. Obviously, like you can't do that. But I don't know. I just felt like it was a bit. I don't think it needed to do it, but at the same time, I don't know how else you would have ended it.
Right.
It just seemed like, oh, this seems to be the flavor of the month. Let's just say it's this. Everyone's arguing about these female athletes. Let's just say it's the Pope now.
All right. So I just did a quick Google, and it says that this is widely believed to just be a popular rumor.
Yeah, you got
no basis in
sucked
reality.
in each other.
There you go. Well, I did.
You're in the wrong Reddit groups, man.
I did preface it by.
What is it? R Pope subreddit.
It's like a medieval era Pope or whatever. So,
yeah.
So there we go. I got sucked into.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there's probably a rumors. That's the thing about it, is because the Catholic Church and all that whole stuff is so secretive and inside baseball. There's I'm sure there's rumors of hundreds of different things, and half of them are probably true.
Well, they kind of foreshadowed that a bit when they were having one of the early meetings with Stanley Tucci, who was also great.
He was good actually,
in the movie as
Bellini. Tucci's always good.
He's great. And he like gave out his positions. He said, like, you know, the standard position on homosexuality, but they didn't define what that actually means from the liberal point of view. I guess means like hate the sin, love the sinner, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
It's kind of like what the position is. But then the last thing he says is like women should be more involved in the church, and they go,
yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
I don't know, that's a little controversial.
Like, oh, you're crazy saying that. No one was going to go for that.
And then John Lithgow's character's candidacy is finally sunk when Isabella Rossellini speaks out against him, like a woman taking a more.
That's a good point, actually.
Of a, like, you know, voice of authority in the church.
Because I was going to ask you about that, because it was very obviously a very deliberate last shot of the movie when he looks outside and it's the three women leaving, and I was kind of like trying to understand like the point of that, but I think you probably hit on it there, right? It's the crux of the movie is like all these men making decisions in this room.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's like, you know, the movie, as we said, like it ends up stop being about the mysteries because they end up not being that important. Like it sinks this one character, sinks that other character.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you kind of realize the threat all along was the reactionary candidate. It was Tiesco, who doesn't really like, who's not really a spiritual person, is more just a hateful person and wants to use it for power. And then they end up electing someone who like is like a true believer and actually has that spirituality and will actually lead the church from.
Yeah, you know what? I think that was the scene that lost me a little bit after the explosion, and they all go into wherever it is, that little auditorium where they're all sat together. Because it got a bit. That's when it got a bit like, okay, it's getting a bit broad now. Like that when he was like, oh, we have to go war against these animals, and he's like, I was like, man, he's like chewing on a cigar. I was like, oh, almost. It's just like, come on, man. It's like cartoonishly like evil cardinals. I oh my word! Like you didn't need to make it that like polarizing, and then like the one stood up like almost a saintly, like, oh, but like let's all love each other. I was like, oh, come on.
I've no doubt there'd be a candidate with like that kind of thought in their heart, right?
Yeah,
but they wouldn't
to be that bold
like
about
that,
it, like, man, and to be like the most ideal candidate everyone's voting for, and he's like, oh, we're gonna go to war with these animals. It's like, whoa,
it's like, dude, you're running for Pope, man.
The Pope's gonna be like rattling insane, but that doesn't make any sense to me.
No, yeah, in reality, it would be a guy who, like, you know, he says things through like winks, right? Like,
exactly.
Doesn't really say
that's what I mean. Like the people who get elected to these positions are people that know what to say and what to say in the room. No, only one person there, and what to say in the group, and how to play politics and do what you do.
It ends up being like a little too Trumpian.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
What I mean. Yeah, they didn't want to say it, but that's what I mean. It was
and
like,
it kind of like, you know,
like everything else. Like it's just like everything's just so black or white, and there's no like middle ground. It's like I'm going to be the super liberal faction of the Cardinals, and you're going to be the super right wing.
I do look forward to the day where you kind of you watch a movie with like, you know, politics at the center that like is not like so wholly fascinated with Donald Trump.
I know what you mean. No.
And I guess like it's not necessarily just saying, you know, Donald Trump. Like there are lots of figures that you could kind of place that onto.
It's just the way that politics is run these days. It's just like it's so one way or the other. It's like there's no in between. It seems like it's like so like extreme one way, both ways, one way or the other. It's just like I'm kind of a bit tired of it. It's like people are, I think, are more complicated than that, and the world is more complicated than that. I think we've lost that.
And so you said that the ending didn't quite work for you.
Yeah, just like I say, with that whole thing of just like making it obviously, oh, now we've got a bad guy who we can't let win, and oh, this guy who, like you said, was pretty obviously going to probably win eventually. It's like that bit I was a bit like, oh, okay, and then it was like, oh, and then the twist was like, oh, well, now like getting into this whole like, he's not a, is he a man? Is he not a man? Is he a woman? And then I was a bit like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't see it. I didn't see it going there, and I was just a bit like, okay. I think it seemed like it was just going not for the easy sort of thing, but it's like, oh, this, like I said, it's like, oh, this is the topical discussion. So like, this is what we're going to end on, and this is the big reveal. And I was like, seriously,
I think it's more about just like, that the church has to change, that it has to modernize.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily specifically about like that, like trans issue.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But so why have it in there then? Like, I feel like it was trying to have its cake and eat it a bit in that sense.
No, I think it's kind of like, I like, to me, a big issue at the center of the Catholic Church is that the fact that, women are not allowed to be priests, period.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a way that, allows it to to subvert that and kind of give like an impression that, things will get better and things will change. And then the church itself will improve by opening up more like that.
Yeah, but I mean, like, couldn't they have just done that by them revealing that it was secretly just a woman all along? Which they kind of did, but then didn't, because she wasn't secretly a woman all along. It was secretly, oh, I lived my life as a man and then found out I also have female reproductive organs.
Yeah,
it's like, so that's what I mean. It's like, so it's not that it's like, oh, but yeah, that's a big issue right now. Like, what is a woman issue? Is it a woman? Is it a man? Like, we don't know. So yeah, that's what I mean. I feel like it would have worked better. It was just like, no, she's just a straight up woman, and
you think so? You think okay? Well, I don't know.
Like, but that's what I mean. Would it have changed the point of the movie if it was?
No, I don't know. Like, I think more than anything, it's just kind of symbolizing, a move towards change.
Yeah, I get.
And like, it's maybe the fact that the new pope is kind of neither holy man or holy woman is just like a sign like towards like gradual change. That's why you had like a turtle in there, like just kind of like slowly getting better.
Right.
Whereas like maybe if they were just secretly a woman, maybe that would be like too big of a change.
I think as well, for me, I think I was just like, that would never happen. Like, there's no way they would ever do that. Like, they don't even, like, they even say in the movie, like, there's never even been like a black pope. It's always just been an old white dude. And then from like, they would not have touched that. They would have buried that so fast.
Well, I guess the fact that they're sequestered, like, it makes you end up doing kind of weird things.
But I mean, that's what I mean. Like, when they found out the reveal, and it was like, oh, well, I'm still just gonna let him be pope, and then it'll be fine. But like,
well, that
would not go well, because they would immediately come out like that this is the case, and then it would have imploded.
Well, I say the Catholic Church is pretty good at burying things, though.
That's what I mean. They would have buried it before the fact.
But the fact that like no one had a chance to vet this person before coming in.
That's what I mean.
So do you think the previous pope like intended for that person to end up becoming pope?
Because he said in it, he said like, I feel like he wanted me to like take charge of this whole process. So maybe he knew that like he needed him in charge to make sure that this person had a chance, right?
Well, that's kind of one thing I was thinking of throughout the whole movie is like, how much are we seeing is like by the design of like the pope that died. As the movie went on, I thought like, oh, maybe it's not as deliberate as it was. Maybe he just wanted him in charge because he thought like that was the best chance. So then the reactionaries don't get in charge. I was thinking like it was like going to be like a, paycheck.
Oh, right.
It's like, he planned every step to happen in every certain way.
So it's perfectly the plan that at the end he walks out, he's like, I'm not even really dead.
Yeah. Well, I really thought like it was going to be that John Lithgow had murdered him.
I was just going to say that. I feel like they really lined that up, because it's like he's the last person to see him. And then he fired him, but then didn't get a chance to like report it or tell anybody before he died. It's like, that seems fortuitous timing for Jonathan Lithgow.
Yeah.
Well, they never said either way if he did or not, though. To be fair,
it's pretty suspicious. But I'm thinking not, because it sounds like from that last meeting, like it was a bombastic meeting, and then like they left in anger.
If you're Jonathan Lithgow, how like lucky are you feeling if you're like, your boss fires you, and then before he can put it into HR, he dies,
Maybe
and then they come to you like, "Do you want his new job?" And you're like, "Fuck, I'm the luckiest man alive."
Maybe he thought it was preordained.
Right? He's like, "Man, obviously God wants me to take this job." He killed the old Pope before he could fire me properly.
I do like Lithgow's performance as well. Like he really kind of just plays like
he's good at just
bastards,
slimy bastards. He really is.
All right. Well, like it sounds like we're winding down a little bit, but it sounds like you would definitely recommend this movie. Have a little bit of reservations about how it ended.
Yeah, and like not huge reservations. I thought it was fine with what it did. I don't know. It just didn't. And I think I'm just judging it with how invested I was, which is one of those like curses that sometimes movies have when they do a really good job of bringing you in and getting you on board. Sometimes it can be really difficult to sort of stick the landing at the end, I think. And this one just didn't do it as well as I was hoping, but by no means was it bad.
Yeah, well, I would actually say like when they had ended up selecting, I can't remember what the guy's name was, like the Mexican guy from Kabul. When they ended up selecting him as Pope, and then like everyone's clapping, and I thought like, it's kind of ends up being a little anticlimactic here. So like I feel like the movie almost needs a big reveal of it at the end.
True. Yeah, it definitely did need something, because that's kind of what I was a bit worried about when I was watching it. I was like, I don't know how they're gonna make this sort of satisfying, because we know there's only like 3 people or whatever that they could give it to. Then it's like, well, now it's only 2, and you're like, oh, we can guess who it's going to be, but how is that going to be satisfying unless like something happens right at the death to change everyone's opinion on something, which it kind of does, but you're a bit like, oh, that was an obvious thing that you kind of was telegraphed coming. So I don't know. I'm not trying to say I would have done anything different, because I don't know what I would change, but it just didn't satisfy me as much as I was kind of hoping, because I was very invested in the movie. So, but yeah, I'd still very much recommend it. Really, really good, great performances, and something that should be seen, I would say.
I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah.
So before we drop off, definitely want to promote that in a few days we'll be dropping an episode on us seeing Interstellar in 70mm IMAX. So
we've been hyping this one up because we're very excited to go and see this one on the weekend.
Yeah. So if you are a fan of Interstellar or just 70mm as a concept, definitely check out our episode. Don't watch the movie first. You're gonna check
Yeah, you've obviously not seen it, right?
All right. Well, anything else, Pete?
No, I don't think so. Just the usual spiel of thanks everyone for tuning in, and if you like what we do, tell your friends, give us a review, whatever you can do to help spread the word. We really appreciate all our fans.
Yeah. Well said.
Well, I was going to say all our fan, but then I changed.
All our fan. Yeah.
No. Anyway.
All right.
No, so I think that's probably it for tonight. Thanks for joining us in my basement, and until next time, until Interstellar, that's the final word.